Everyone, it's Lynn here. In this clip from episode 4, we're diving into the political fallout following the bombing of Iran, unpacking the financial motives behind the war, the misuse of religion in politics, and how younger generations are pushing back against outdated foreign policies. This is the conversation often lost in the noise of today's headlines. Don't forget to comment, and thank you for listening.
We'd be remiss if we did not take the time to talk about the events that are going on in the political space with the bombing of Iran last night.
So I want to let me pause for just a moment, because that, when we were talking about the comments, that was one of the comments that resonated with me. And it went back to an episode where we were talking about people not being able to focus on two things at once, that we get sidetracked by like a sideshow or whatever, and we're not paying attention. And so I am very curious to hear your take on what's going on. But that's what I'm saying, is that we're so busy worrying about Elon Musk and Trump not playing fairly, and now they're sharing a Happy Meal in the play box or whatever, sandbox. And there are real world events that are going on, right? So it didn't just happen overnight. They've been planning this. While we're over here looking at memes, other things are happening over here. So thank you for allowing me to say that, but I really do want to hear your take on this.
I don't think it was planned. I don't think that anything that the shit show is planned, or most things that he would do is planned. I think that he found himself or finds himself in a perilous political predicament with ratings that are not where he wants them to be. If you think about the last couple of weeks in terms of the things that have happened, there's been the fight with foreign leaders. There's been the military parade last week. And this week we get the war in Iran. The conversation with respect to Iran and Israel that began a couple of weeks ago. And so it's not that came out of the blue. We knew that Israel had issues with Iran. That was, an unprovoked aggression by Israel against Iran. And so from that standpoint, Israel was hoping that the United States would get involved. Now, the shit show being as thin-skinned as he is, he saw it as an opportunity to sort of level set and reset, I believe, his political position, and decided that he was going to bomb, for all intents and purposes, facilities that were either not being used or facilities where we don't know whether or not there was nuclear provisions there. I think the part that bothers me is you have a lot of individuals who did not vote for the lady with the big laugh, the lady with the beliefs that they felt that she was going to get us into war. Now those individuals who had those strong beliefs about her are now faced with the fact that the United States is essentially in a war of not our choosing. And so I say all that to say, I'm disappointed in where we are as a nation. I'm disappointed that we continue to get ourselves pulled into what's going on in the Middle East, sometimes because we defend Israel more than probably we should. And one of the things that I think that does is it emboldens the individuals who may not like America to say, okay, I'm going to continue to hate you. I'm going to continue to hate my kids or poison my kids against you because of what it is that you may be doing to our country. And I don't think we're going to see the fallout for this year. I think it's going to be years in the future where we'll see the fallout.
Hey, I appreciate you sharing that. I think that this president is thin-skinned, but I always expect a war when a Republican gets into office because it's financially advantageous to them. So the manufacturing, the third party, they're usually owned by Republicans that are supporting this war effort. I've always thought that it is a financial benefit for people when we go into war or when we enter into a war zone. And we can think about Bush when we were doing that and the ties that Cheney had to the different industries. They benefit from it. Well, it's bigger than that, but there is a financial part to it that I think that plays a part in the decision. What do you think?
It's Republicans. I think it's Democrats. Obama went to war, Clinton went to war. Biden went to war. And so all presidents go to some type of war. The problem that I'm having with this is this was not a war of anyone who was a imminent threat to the United States. So from that standpoint, it was a war that we had sort of been the aggressor on. I don't know whether or not we yet understand the fallout of this. I mean, obviously, we'll look and see what the stock market does. When you go to get gas next week, if gas is $5 an hour, then we'll know that something is going on. I think the issue that I'm having is individuals who are hypocrites and say, okay, war with Democrats are in power is bad, but war when the shit show starts, it is good. You have individuals who have now flip-flopped on a host of issues with respect to how it is that we go to war and in what manner we go to war. I don't have a problem if we go to war, but let's do it the right way and let's make that the individuals who need to be caught in the loop or in the loop on knowing what needs to happen are informed. My understanding is this incident happened. None of the leadership on the Democratic side was given the heads up.
Wow.
This was going to happen. It was the leaders on the Republican side who were given that heads up. In politics with folks' lives. That's what I'm issue with. And I also have an issue with the fact that we've seen this administration, speaking of religion and spirituality, we've seen this administration use religion as a wedge issue for Democrats, specifically with respect to Israel, whether it's on colleges or whether it's in business. Now, whether it's with foreign policy, we've seen them use the Israel-Jewish alliance to advance their theory of the case in terms of what we should be doing as a nation or where we should be spending our time, effort, and resources. I have a problem with that.
With it too, but it's part of this playbook that we've done for centuries, right? So using religion, weaponizing the religion, if you want to talk about that, it's always effective. It's been going on in the Middle East forever. I mean, they've been fighting for thousands of years. Like, when is this going to be over? And so if you look at that, it's a good way to distract. It's a good way to advance your situation. And so why not use the religion to divide? And yeah, I think about this president, and even with his first term, he used religion. I don't spend a lot of time in church just because it's hot in there for a person like me.
And you're running from the Deacons.
That I don't, but I just growing up didn't have the politicalness in a church. And so going into church after this president took office, just how it has had the religion and the political convergence. And it's uncomfortable for me because for me, again, my spiritual self is independent of this external world. It's completely independent. It is very internal to me. And so for you to invite that into a place where I need to feel closer to God, or I don't, but for me, I don't feel like it's right. That's just me. And so they've used that.
If you look at the comments that he made last night where he invoked God in his comments multiple times, and God is just not on the United States side. There's God.
Of course not. Right.
So you're saying that God is on your side, and that means that I'm good, they're evil.
It's again dehumanizing people, right? So if God is on our side, then these people must be evil, and I can justify my actions because they're not godly.
So that is what I think a lot of people have with organized religion, that we take that zero-sum game that I'm good, you're bad, and everything that I do is good, everything that you do and everything that you stand for is bad. And you have individuals who are either caught up in the middle in terms of the crossfire, individuals who are ill-informed and not thinking about the long-term repercussions of their votes and how it is that now those votes that, you thought that the lady with the terrible laugh was going to do you harm, and now you find yourself in a situation where you're at war and you might be spending $10 for a gallon of gas. All because you did not like a laugh.
Well, and they can justify that by his words, the way he's positioning everything. And so people they will be okay with it because of the way that he's positioning. So again, he may not be the smartest, but he is a master manipulator. He manipulates people's emotions, he manipulates his words. And for that, it is effective, right? So people are going to be okay because again, God is on the side of Americans. So if you're an American, you're protected by the grace of God. If you're something else, then you're the devil. And for me, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and you know what? I take your point on it, and I agree with you that we have to have more thoughtful dialogue about religion. We have to have the conversation about America's relationship with Israel and the Jewish conversation. That is a topic I understand that, there are strong feelings on both sides. But I also believe that we're raising a generation of individuals who may not view the American-Israel relationships in the manner that the current or older generations view it, and point that, we've been in some ways in the older generation pro-Israel. What I see and hear from a lot of the younger folks, the Gen Zs, the generation is more aligning with what it is that's happening in Palestine and happening in places where they see them being oppressed. So thank you for, again, indulging me on a host of a couple of different topics thus far in this show. As always, guys, thank you for spending time with us. We know that you have a lot that you could be doing, a lot of things that you could be focused on, a lot of things that you could be spending your time on. You don't have to listen, but we're glad you did. And as always, take some time today to do something nice for yourself. And while you're at it, do something nice for someone else. Until next time, we'll talk to you.
Well, thanks for joining us for another lively discussion. This podcast is a production of the SME Media Group, LLC. All rights are reserved. If you like this episode, click on the link in the right-hand corner and check out additional content. Also, be sure to subscribe to the I Take Your Point podcast to ensure you're getting all of your content. Until next time, take care and be well.